Every morning at exactly 6:12 a.m., the bell above the cafeteria chimed once, not twice, not rushed, just once. The same man, same calm walk, same gray jacket, same quiet nod. For 3 years straight, he always sat at the corner table by the window, ordered black coffee, sometimes toast, and opened his laptop like the world could wait for him. To most people, he was just another foreign businessman passing through Lagos. To her, he was simply table 7, and she never missed his order. What no one noticed, what no one ever notices, is that sometimes, the people serving you are fighting battles you'll never see. This morning was different. Her hands shook as she poured the coffee, not because the cafe was busy, not because she was tired, but because folded inside the pocket of her apron was a single sheet of paper that had followed her everywhere for days. Read so many times the edges were soft, creased where tears had landed more than once. A notice, the kind that doesn't shout, but quietly tells you your life is about to change. She had tried to read it one last time in the storage room before her shift started, hoping the words might somehow rearrange themselves. They didn't. 3 missed payments, final warning, property scheduled for repossession. That small 2-bedroom flat in Surrey, where her daughter did homework on the floor, where birthdays were celebrated with candles stuck into bread, was slipping away. She had done everything right, or at least, everything she knew how to do. Worked double shifts, skipped meals, smiled through customers yelling about cold toast and slow service. Still, it wasn't enough, and that morning, as she set the cup down at table 7, her vision blurred, a tear landed on the saucer. She turned quickly, embarrassed, whispering an apology that wasn't really for the coffee. "I'm sorry, excuse me." She didn't see his eyes follow her as she walked away, didn't notice him watching her wipe her face behind the counter, trying to steady herself before the next order came in. What she didn't know, what no one in that cafe knew, was that the man at table 7 had seen that look before, not in cafes, but in boardrooms, in courtrooms, in mirrors, years ago, when life had almost crushed him too. And that single folded paper slipping halfway out of her apron, it caught his attention, just long enough, because sometimes, the smallest details become the doorway to everything changing, and what he chose to do next wouldn't just change her morning, it would rewrite her entire future. Have you experienced something like this? Comment below. What would you have done if you were in his place? Hey there, my wonderful family and friends, welcome back. If you're ready to dive into today's story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from. I love seeing where everyone's watching. And guess what? There's another amazing story coming your way tomorrow, one you definitely don't want to miss. Alright then, let's get started. She tried to pull herself together. Customers were lining up. Orders were being called, plates clinked. Life didn't pause just because hers was falling apart. But the paper wouldn't stay hidden. As she reached for the sugar bowl at table 7, the folded notice slipped from her apron and fluttered to the floor. She froze. Time slowed in that strange way it does when embarrassment hits before fear. She bent down quickly, fingers scrambling to grab it. But his hand was already there. "I've got it," he said gently. Their eyes met for the first time in 3 years. Up close, she noticed things she hadn't before. The calm steadiness, the faint lines at the corners of his eyes. Not from age, but from carrying weight. The kind of weight money doesn't erase. She forced a smile. "Thank you, sir." He didn't hand it back immediately. He didn't read it either. He simply looked at the heading, "Final Notice." Something in his expression changed. Not curiosity, not pity, but recognition. "You don't have to explain," he said quietly, sensing her panic. "But are you okay?" That question broke her, not because it was deep, but because no one had asked it in a long time. She swallowed hard. "I will be," she said, though it came out fragile. "I always am." He nodded, slowly returning the paper. "I believe you." She walked away, heart pounding, certain that would be the end of it. But 10 minutes later, as she cleared his empty cup, he spoke again. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Amara." "That's a beautiful name," he said. "I'm Daniel." He stood, slipped a folded bill beneath the cup. more than his usual tip, and paused. "I come here because it's quiet," he said, "but today, I think I came for a different reason." Before she could respond, he added, "I don't want to embarrass you. If you say no, I'll understand completely. But would you sit with me for just 5 minutes? On your break?" Her first instinct was fear. Customers didn't ask that. Men like him didn't ask that. But something about his tone felt safe, grounded, human. She nodded. They sat at the small side table near the window, the one no one liked because the sunlight was too harsh in the morning. He listened more than he spoke. She told him about the flat, about her daughter, about her husband who'd left years ago and never sent a single payment back. She stopped herself halfway. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't be telling you all this." "You should," he said softly. "You've been carrying it alone." Then he said something that made her stomach drop. "I know what that notice means." Her eyes widened. "I lost everything once," he continued. "Different country, different life, same paper." That wasn't the story she expected. And then came the moment that changed the direction of everything. "I'd like to help," Daniel said, "not with charity, with dignity." Amara shook her head immediately. "I can't accept money." He smiled, almost sadly. "I didn't offer money." She stared at him, confused, and that's when she realized this wasn't going to be a simple act of kindness. This was something far bigger. What would you have done in her position? Have you ever received help from someone unexpected? Comment below. Daniel didn't pull out a checkbook. He didn't make a phone call in front of her. And he didn't say the words she was bracing herself to hear. Instead, he slid his phone across the table. On the screen was a single email draft, subject line, "Surler Property. Immediate hold request." Her breath caught. "I don't understand," Amara said. "I know." Daniel replied calmly, "That's okay. Just stay with me for a moment," he explained slowly, carefully, like he was handling something fragile. 3 years ago, the building she lived in had been quietly purchased by an investment firm. The name meant nothing to her. It meant everything to him. "That firm," he said, "belongs to me." Her mouth opened, then closed again. The room felt too small. He wasn't just a generous customer. He wasn't just well off. He was the owner of the very company about to take her home, and instead of letting it happen, he had already stopped it. The email sent, just like that. Her hands began to tremble. "I didn't know it was yours," she whispered. "That's the point," he said. "You weren't supposed to." Tears spilled before she could stop them. She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She sank back into the chair, covering her face as years of fear finally broke loose. People in the caf turned to look. She didn't care. Daniel waited. Didn't rush her. Didn't touch her. When she finally looked up, he spoke again. "I didn't come here today planning this," he said. "But I don't believe in accidents." He slid another document across the table. It wasn't a bill, it was a revised agreement. No missed payments, no penalties, no looming threat. The mortgage had been restructured, interest cleared, balance reduced to something she could manage on her wages alone. She stared at the numbers, shaking her head. "This isn't possible." "It is," Daniel said. "And there's more." He took a breath. "I've watched you work for 3 years. You show up early, you leave late, you treat people like they matter, even when they don't return it." He met her eyes. "I don't want you here forever." Her heart skipped. "I want you trained," he continued. "Accounting, property management, something stable, something that gives your daughter a future that isn't this." She laughed through tears. "You don't even know me," he smiled. "I know enough." She collapsed forward then, hands on the table, shoulders shaking, not from weakness, but from relief so heavy it felt physical. For the first time in years, she wasn't calculating how long she had before everything fell apart. The caf manager rushed over, alarmed. Daniel stood, placed his card gently on the table, and said one last thing. "This stays between us. No headlines, no videos, just a chance." Amara nodded, unable to speak, as he walked toward the door. The bell chimed once, just once, but nothing about her life would ever sound the same again. Have you ever seen kindness arrive when you least expected it? What would you have done if you were in Daniel's place? Comment below. 6 months later, the cafe bell still chimed at 6:12 a.m., but Amara was no longer behind the counter. She walked past the cafe now, sometimes slowing down, sometimes smiling. On her way to a very different kind of morning. Her daughter wore a new backpack, not flashy, just sturdy, the kind that doesn't tear halfway through the term. Homework was done at a desk now, not on the floor. Nights were quieter, mornings lighter. The flat in Surler was theirs again, not just on paper, but in spirit. No envelopes slipped under the door anymore, no late-night math that never worked out. The fear that once lived in her chest had finally loosened its grip. 3 evenings a week. Amara sat in a small classroom learning numbers she once avoided. Budgets, cash flow, property ledgers. Not because someone forced her to, but because she wanted to understand the system that almost swallowed her whole. And she was good at it, better than she ever believed possible. Daniel kept his word. No public praise, no dramatic gestures. Just quiet check-ins and steady guidance. What surprised her most wasn't the help. It was the trust. Then one afternoon, during a routine meeting, Daniel slid a folder across the table. Inside was a job offer. Not charity, not gratitude, responsibility. He wanted her managing tenant relations for several buildings, starting with the one she lived in. She laughed, stunned. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything," he said. But the real impact didn't stop there. When neighbors struggled, Amara noticed first. When single parents fell behind, she advocated quietly. When systems felt cold, she remembered what it felt like to be invisible, and refused to let others feel that way. Kindness didn't end with her, it multiplied. As for Daniel, he still visited Lagos often, still wore the same gray jacket, still avoided attention. But every now and then, he stopped by the cafe. Same table, same coffee, different reason, because some mornings, watching someone else stand taller is worth more than any deal ever signed. And Amara? She never forgot the day her life changed. Not because someone rescued her, but because someone saw her, really saw her, and chose to act. So if you're listening to this right now, tired, overwhelmed, wondering how much longer you can hold everything together, remember this. Help doesn't always come loudly, sometimes it arrives quietly. At table 7, have you experienced this? Comment below. What would you have done? Faith in humanity restored. Tag someone who needs to hear this.
Thank you for watching all the way through. If this story moved you, the next one will surprise you in ways you won't expect. Go ahead and click the video on your screen. Your next story awaits.